Willie, you all right?
All right, self.
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Let's start with your 21-man squad for Friday night's game against Cass. A couple of omissions. Firstly, Ryan Hall. What's the latest with the reoccurrence of the calf injury that he suffered?
Yeah, so hoping he'll be only another 2 weeks. So obviously back for the cup final. That's the aim, to be able to get him back for that. But it was one that Ryan thought that he'd get through the game last week, and then he felt it in the warm up. And if any player says that he can't do his job, it'll be Ryan, because that he had a week recovery after an operation. Those operations usually take 2.5 to 3 weeks for most players. So if Ryan says that he's not right, he's not right. So hopefully we need to just work on him now, mate, to get him back for that cup game.
How selfless an act was that from him to make that call himself, to say, I'm not right to go in a game of that magnitude?
Yeah, very selfless, and that's the person that he is, mate. He'll always put the team first. He wants to be part. excuse me. He wants to be part of what we're doing. And mate, we had a team meeting this morning, and there was no the messages that he was talking about from the weekend's game going into this week, and obviously the next couple of weeks. He's got so much experience, so much knowledge, and like you say, it was a selfless act. And I praise Mikey, obviously, for coming on and playing the role that he played, but also Jimmy Kindhorst as well, who's been very good for us the last couple of weeks. So I thought we handled that situation really well as a team, led by Sean Kenny-Dow as well, with how we handled it too.
The other player missing from your squad is Dean Hadley, who I think most expected would come back. What's happened with him?
Yeah, so the specialist has said another week, so he'll be back for the week after against Wigan. So yeah, it's obviously not great that he's having another week off. We were looking forward to him coming back. He's felt great. Everything's has been fine in terms of no symptoms or anything like that. But the specialist just feels that he needs another week.
In terms of players who are included, Elliot Minchella's in. I know he spoke to us on Monday and said he talked to you about managing his workload given his early return from injury. Is he okay to go again after a big shift on Sunday?
Yeah, mate. So he obviously playing long minutes, and it's purely because of the way he's playing. I keep him out there because he's an important part of our team. He's back. He's in the leadership group. He's important off the field, but really important also on the field too. So, look, it's one of those that if Minnie's right to go, we'll play him on Friday, but we'll make a call later on the week.
How are you managing his workload over the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, I mean, at training, you need to manage it. Obviously, minimal contact or less contact, and then we'll just look at his loads as well. But yeah, in terms of games, if he's playing, he's playing. He's ready to go. So similar to what happened with Ryan, we don't want that with Minnie, where if he goes into a game and he's not sure whether he can play or he can't play, then we'll make the decision that he's not going to play. So he'll make the call on that essentially. The back end of the week.
You've got Jack Walker back in your side after being cut-tied for Sunday. What are your thoughts at this stage on team selection? Do you stick with a winning side despite the late reshuffle, or are you tempted to make any kind of changes given what's on the horizon?
Yeah, look, it's one of those that we'll make a final call in the back end of the week, but the team did the job on the weekend. But then, Jack, had a good game against FC as well. So there are options there. And then we'll just have to, as I say, we'll finalise it later on the week. But there's some good options now, which is healthy for us. It's positive for us because we hadn't had that in the past for that period there where we struggled a little. So it's a better position to be in, that's for sure.
Looking slightly further ahead, there was some perhaps optimistic speculation on the television coverage that Jordan Abdul could make a return for the final. Is that a possibility or just wishful thinking at this stage?
Is that Jordan that said that?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, mate, we'd love to obviously have Jordan part of what we're doing and going forward. But the key for Jordan now is to get his body right, and if that was to be for the final or any game around that, then great. But the key for us is Jordan's just re-signed at the club for further few years. So I'm thinking bigger picture, and with Jordan, naturally, he'd want to play, and we want him playing in the biggest games of the season, and for me, it's just about getting his body right. I think he's at a key stage in his career now that he needs to get his body right. He needs to get as fit as possible. You can't. There's times there that you can't help injuries. They're purely, rugby league injuries, which happen. It's a contact sport. It's a brutal sport at times. But then you can also manage your body as well, in terms of recovery and your loads and that type of thing. So we just need to make sure that we're doing everything we can for him. And then when he's back, he'll be back ready to go.
So for the time being, you're ruling out him making a miraculous turnaround in 2 weeks?
Yeah, I wouldn't think so, mate. With that type of injury, it's too high risk. As I say, if we brought him back and, you spoke before about a selfless act from Ryan Hall, that's who we need. We need players that are going to put the team first at this period. But as I said, the bigger picture is for Jordan to play full season. He started the season extremely well and, was up there amongst the men of steel and that type of thing. So when he's playing, we know he's effective and he's certainly an important part of our team. But we just need to get him playing. The last couple of years he hasn't played a lot of rugby, so we need to get his body right.
Just before we get to the Cas game and everything in between, your opponent's Lee Leopards in the final. Paul Wellens at Saints has been rather critical of the RFL over their disciplinary hearing and the decisions made over John Asiata. What did you make of his comments yesterday about that?
Oh, I haven't, to be honest, I haven't seen them or read them. I've heard, but naturally, as a coach, you're going to be upset about losing players, your players from certain tackles or things that happen in a game. So to definitely understand, where he's coming from, but I don't know exactly what he said. I do know, as I said, I've seen like a headline and I saw some a picture of his face. He obviously seemed frustrated like any coach would. I would be as well, and I'm sure any coach in that position would be. So it's it's not fortunate. I don't think it's from talking about the tackles itself, it was one of those where it wasn't your traditional sort of cannonball type tackle, was it? Where the players were holding the play, but he did go in, and tack the legs. So I'll leave that for the RFL. But as I say, as any coach in the competition would understand where Wello's coming from, that's for sure.
Given the injuries those players have suffered, you faced Lee a couple of weeks ago as well. Have any of your players expressed concerns about his tackling style at all?
No, we haven't talked about it, to be honest. No.
One other bit of news, it's being reported that Wigan are on the verge of signing Tyler Dupree, and if reports are correct, it sounds like you had a couple of bids turned down. How disappointed are you to have missed out on him potentially?
Oh, look, it's a decision if it does happen that Tyler's made. Wigan's obviously gone back and spoken to his management and or Salford, I'm not sure, but wish him all the best, and you move on, don't you? We obviously some conversations there, and we moved on a while ago. I wish him all the best, that's for sure, and it's a decision that's been made, but for us, it was a decision that was made a while ago.
In terms of that decision, why did you decide not to go in and make another further bid?
For us, it was live. When it was live a few weeks back, and our CEO was obviously talking to Salford as were Wigan, and then pretty much they said we're not releasing him, and that was it for us. So we were comfortable with that. Whatever's happened after that is, I don't know what's going on, but we certainly haven't gone back or spoken to Tyler or his management.
Deadline coming up next week. Are you looking to bring in any further players, or are you done, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, at this stage we're done. You never say never, but at this stage, yeah, we're done. Obviously, we brought Brad in, who's been a significant signing for us the last couple of weeks. We needed a halfback and brought him in, but Corey Hall's come in during the season as well. We bought Jack Walker, so we've done a little bit, and naturally a couple of loans here and there. So we'd like to now we're getting players back, and it was all about for us having a consistent team or a squad that you've got cohesion with, and I think we're getting that now, which is good.
Looking back on Sunday, then, have you managed to pull yourself off the ceiling after all the drama that was at Headingley?
Yeah, it was exciting, wasn't it? It's one of those, mate, that your emotions, take over, and you've got to celebrate wins like that. That's what we're all here for. It's a high pressured sport. There's a lot at stake, and for us to get to the Challenge Cup final is a big deal. But there's no doubt, we spoke about it straight after the game. We enjoyed it on the field, we enjoyed it in the sheds, but our focus now turns to Cass on Friday night. That's the next focus point for us. We're playing against a desperate team that'll want to come here and get their season back on track. So as much as the weekend was really enjoyable, it's about Friday night and doing a job back at home for our fans.
Heard from Minchella, who said as well, amongst the players, they had a quiet beer and just said, look, the job's not done. What does that say about your team and their resolve and their determination that they're not sort of celebrating this moment for the time being?
Yeah, I think it shows that we're on the right track. That's for sure. Maybe zero beers next time would be the better option. No, it's, as I say, it's one of those that you want to sit around in the dressing room. You want to have, the boys had a quiet beer and enjoy the moment, and you need to. We talk about celebrating, the little wins along the way, and that was a little win for us. But it's not where we want to get to. So, we, as I said, it was literally a quiet beer, enjoyed the moment, and then as soon as we got on the bus, and it's been our first day back today. The boys are straight back into it. We had a really good conversation this morning around, what's ahead, but we also know what our next focus is as well. So it proves that, we're heading in the right direction. And over the next couple of weeks for me will determine how far we have come or how far we've got to go. And what I mean by that is, it's the next 2 weeks leading into such a big game is all between the ears. It's mental. We can't go away from what's worked for us the last couple of weeks and what worked for us early in the year. And if we stick to that, then we'll be okay. We'll build some momentum going into the final. But as I say, our focus is on Friday, and we need to build the game again. We certainly can't go out and just think it's going to happen off the back of last Sunday. That's for sure.
Yeah, you talk about that mental side of things. What are you doing as a head coach to get the players to park that Challenge Cup final and to, really make sure it's in the rearview mirror for the time being?
Yeah, it's just focusing on our next job, which is Cass. We did a review preview this morning, so we put the both together. So obviously reviewed last game and then put that to bed, and now we focused on Cass. So that's the key. We can't talk or have too much I suppose conversations around what's happening in the next 2 weeks, because the focus is on Friday in 2 days' time. That's the key. And then obviously as a coach, you're looking for players to take ownership. It needs to be player driven more so than coach and staff driven. Once you've got that, then there's real buy-in to where you want to go, and there's real buy-in to the mental side of it. If we tell them, this is how you got to be, this is how you got to play all the time, that doesn't work. The game's changed a lot, where it's players need to stand up now and have a lot of accountability around their actions and what they say in team meetings and back it up.
I suppose another challenge will be players hoping they don't get injured ahead of that Challenge Cup final. How do you try and make them not play in a way that they're almost treading on eggshells, so to speak?
Go all out. Rugby league's a physical and it's a tough game, and Super League's a very high, it's at a high level. And if you don't play at a high level, you're going to get injured, and you're going to come out second best in the scoreboard. And, you can't look at that. I certainly don't want to have players in the team that are worried about getting injured. And we don't talk about injuries. It's not something I like talking about. It is part of the game. There's no doubt about that. It happens, but if we need to be all in, we need to go all out in the next 2 weeks, and then it'll sort itself out. But players are playing for positions. That's the key. Is no one's position is safe. Like we're starting to build a competitive squad with players coming back. So we've got some depth now in the halves. We've got some options at fullback. We've got a nice little rotation with our middles, and Dean Hadley coming back next week. So there's genuine competition for spots now. So you can't, we certainly can't, or the players certainly can't be worried about, 2 weeks' time, because the reality is if they do that and they don't perform, then they won't be in the team.
And given how Cass are desperate for a result to try and stay in Super League at the moment, how much will that help to keep your team on its toes?
Yeah, we'll focus more so around us, but there's no doubt we'll talk about what Cass will bring. Cass is going to bring, a desperate game, high energy game. They've got a few new players. There's a couple that have left and players coming in. So naturally they're going to get a spurt of energy. They're going to be a desperate side coming to our place, but we're in control with how we play. We've always said that. So it's about, as I say, us building the game again. We can't go off the back of what we did last weekend because it's a totally different challenge for us, and we need to build the game again.
How much has that affected your preparations, looking at Cass, if at all, the turnover in players, 3 coming in so far, a couple have left as well?
Yeah, not too much. I mean, we had a good look at them this morning, and there might be some new players coming in, but we have a look mainly around their trends and what they've been doing the last sort of few weeks. Now, naturally, a few different players coming in and players going out, they might change a little bit. I mean, the 2 players that they had were, really direct sort of players, where other players they might bring in might they might look at different options of moving the footy. There's no doubt they've been moving the ball a lot more, especially last time we played them. As I said, the 2 guys that were there were more sort of direct physical type players. So, we've got a plan for both, and main thing is that we get our end right. That's for sure.
I know Andy Last said after the defeat to Hull FC last time they played that he thought his side lacked resiliency at times in that game. How do you take advantage of that?
Oh, look, it'll be a different team. They've had a week off. When your coach says that, there's always going to be a response. So there's no doubt that, as I said, they'll come here with a lot of energy. Our job is to get that out of them. And again, how do you do that? Well, you've got to concentrate on what you can do. So if we worry too much about, what they're going to bring, and obviously Andy's comments to them, we won't get our end right. But I certainly know that they'll respond to those words, and they'll be here to get their season back on track. I mean, it's no secret that they're 2 points ahead of Wakey at the moment, so they want to get back up the table and work their way forward towards the back end of the year.
Just finally from me, just how important is a win, not just in terms of setting up the next couple of weeks, but realigning that focus back on the hunt for the top 6?
Yeah, I think it's, you want to win naturally, but for us, again, we want to build a strong performance, and then the result will come. Honestly, I know it's cliche, but if you do, you focus on winning, that can put pressure and anxiety amongst the team. But if you get your performance right, then most of the time your wins take care of itself. So for me, what I'm looking for from the team is he's building the game again, earning the right, because it won't just happen against a team like Cash. We played them last time at their place. I think it was 12-7. We got them at the back end, but it was a tough grinding game. That's who they are as a team. So we need to, play physical. We need to be ready for a physical game, because that's what they bring. And then, we do that, then the result will take care of itself.
Willie, thanks for your time.
Cheers, mate. Thanks, Ollie.
Willie, how you doing?
All right, mate. Yourself, mate?
Not bad. Just one for me. I think everything's been covered there. I just wondered how much you knew about Cass's new lads. Over here, certainly the relative unknowns. What can you tell us about them?
Mate, I don't know. A great deal about them. So we'll look at them individually. But yeah, to be honest, mate, we haven't had a great deal. Sorry, we haven't had a great look at the individuals yet, because I haven't seen their team yet. So I'm not 100% sure is the honest answer, mate. But we'll once that comes out later today, then we start to look more so at individuals, and then we'll look more into them. But can't give you too much at the moment, mate.
No dramas. Cheers, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Oh, hi, hi, Willie. It's Martin here.
Hey, Martin. How are you, mate?
Not too bad, and congratulations again on the weekend. I don't think I've seen you looking quite as excited as that. I don't know whether you ever have, but
good feeling.
Hopefully on August the 12th, you'll look even more excited, mate.
Yeah, that's the plan. Oh, that's hopefully, mate.
Yeah, I was just sort of thinking, sometimes in League Express we always have a weekly vote on some topic of current interest, and I was thinking about putting a vote in to say who's been the best mid-season signing so far in rugby league. But you've scuppered that, because I think Brad Schneider would get 100% of the votes, mate, at the moment. And just looking at his performance at the weekend and the previous week at Leeds, crikey, you did a good job persuading Canberra to let him come to you.
Yeah, but mate, we're very fortunate that Canberra let him go.
You must have a great relationship with Ricky Stewart. That's all I can say.
Oh, mate, it's one of those that you work hard, behind the scenes to try and make it happen. Obviously, he's manager as well. We're very good and very helpful in it. And then naturally with Canberra, I think they, Ricky's been around a long, long time, and I think he could see the potential of him coming over and playing in the Super League. And obviously, if he does, performs like he does, then it's going to help him as an individual. So I think Ricky's, he's a half himself, and would know, the rewards that can come for Brad by giving him a release and coming over here. There is a clause in the contract which we don't want to talk about because it's around but we're willing to look at that clause and take that clause because of what we could get from Brad. So far, it's paid off. And halfbacks, there's not a lot of halfbacks there that really love the big moments. And Brad's proven that he really loves big moments. That's the key to a really successful half. You look at all the successful halfbacks over the NRL and in the Super League, they just grab the big moments. And then he had two on the weekend. One was that goal kick from the sideline, and then the other, the field goal, and then looking in the week after as well, or week before as well. So he likes the big moments for a young half. That's a good sign.
Well, I was saying to Matt Parcell earlier, I thought that conversion from the sideline was, if anything, even more crucial because it got you in a position to, be able to go into Golden Point. But the kid has nerves of steel, doesn't he? As Brad, he's a hell of an acquisition for you at the end of the season.
Yeah, definitely. He's really calm and composed. He's got that, that country sort of laid back way about him, which you need as a half. It's back in the day. It was different. Your halfbacks had to be really, really vocal and be pushing players and not panicky, but you had to be dominant in the way you talk to your teammates. Where now, because the game started getting structured, your middles and back rowers, that they know their role and they know what to do. So you don't have to have that. You still need to be dominant in the way you communicate, but not as erratic, I suppose, in the way you want to get your players around the field. So Brad brings a nice, calm influence to our team. We struggled, for a period there. We competed really hard in some of those games, but to have, a half that could ice the game because we had players out of position. That's no disrespect to any of the players that were there. They did their best. But you bring in a player like Brad, who's a genuine half, and he's icing those big moments, and that's what they get paid to do, mate.
Can I just ask about Michael Lewis? I mean, that moment in the game when he picked the ball up in his own in goal and beat Abbas Miski on a sixpence, really, and shot up the touchline, and avoided having to have a goal line dropout. I thought that was a really big moment as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. If he gets tackled in the in goal there and then, we're under the pump, more pressure and possibly could lead to a try. I think that was a perfect sort of setting for Mikey because, he was on the interchange bench, going into the game, but then obviously the late withdrawal from Hawley, it was a perfect sort of setting for him just to go out and play, not having to think too much. And that's when he plays his best. Not when he's overthinking things. It just doesn't happen naturally for him, but he's a natural player, and that was a natural play. That was just his footy now to be able to go get out of the in goal with footwork, speed, and he knew where to be.
If you can repeat that at Wembley, that'll be a great thing to look forward to, mate, won't it?
Yeah, absolutely. A few of those would be nice.
Yeah, and just and it's not just that. He's a real tough little bugger because when Shorrocks got sent off, you might have thought that Mikey would have, been coming off because it was a big knock, I thought. But he just jumped up and looked as though he was pretty unaffected by it, really.
Yeah, definitely. Mikey went through a period, I think we won 6 straight, and he was one of our best players because he competed really hard and he played tough. He played physical. That's when he's at his best. When he's bouncing it off the ground and he's putting his shouldering and making good first contact with his tackles, and because all that other flair stuff that comes because it's natural to him. So, for him to keep growing, he needs to look at the competitive side, but more so the physical side, and pride himself on that, which he did on the weekend, and then that helps his performance or his overall performance.
And just a final thing, Jack Walker, you've said I think he's cup tied, so he won't be able to play at Wembley. Does that affect how you might select the fullback role over the next couple of weeks? Because of course, if you played Jack at fullback over the next 2 weeks, you then have to make a change again for the Wembley team. Might you be tempted to run with someone else there in the run up to Wembley to give that person, whoever plays there, that experience of being in that position?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they're conversations that we're having. We've got a squad of 21, which we need to finalise now. So we want to have a team going in on Friday that's going to be fully fit, able to do the job. So Jack's in consideration for that, and we just need to work out. Yeah, do we go with Jack, who's a fullback, or do we go with what's won us last weekend's game, and then what's ahead for us as well? So they're discussions at the moment. But as I say, good headaches to have.
Okay, mate, and good luck on Friday. Thanks. Good to speak to you, Willie.
Thanks, Martin. Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
Hey, Willie. How are you doing?
Hey, James. Good, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, good, thank you. Just a few quick ones from me. Everyone's expecting a bit of a hangover on Friday, but could being back home have the opposite effect and actually energise you in front of that crowd?
Yeah, that's what we're hoping, mate. It's, as I said, the next couple of weeks is going to tell us how far we've come. It's going to tell me as a coach how far we've come, and it'll tell our fans how far we've come. And all we're looking for, as I said before, mate, is KR performance, and we need to. Yeah, we need to build the game again, because if we just think it's going to happen, it won't. It certainly won't. So, as I say, mate, the next couple of weeks for me is mainly mental. If we go out and we play physically like we did last weekend, we compete like we did last weekend, and we get the mental side right, then the performance will come off the back of that. So, yeah, as a coach, mate, I'm sitting back. Well, not so much sitting back. We're into it at the moment, but on the weekend or Friday night. Interested to see the response of the players after such a big game last week.
Does the importance of this game in the context of the Super League season help focus minds and make it a bit easier to push Wembley to the side?
Look, motivation is a funny one. Like, as a coach, you're always looking for ways to motivate players, but motivation, it does at the end of the day, it comes from within. So as I say, you'll always look at ways and have different themes and things like that to motivate your players, but for me, again, individually, I'm interested to see what players stand up after last week. So it's a game that we should be motivated about, because where we're sitting on the table, we're in by a minimal points differential. So you could easily be out of the 6, and then if you lose a couple in a row, we lost. I think we lost, what was it, 4, whatever we lost in a row. Then we're in 3rd position at one stage, and then you're out of the 6. So we know that we can't get too far behind, but I haven't, we haven't looked at tables or anything as a group. What we've looked at is our performance last week, and then how we're going to, hopefully win this game this week.
And you've got Wigan and Saints away, aren't you, over side of the final, which is challenging. But are the periods that should excite players? Yeah,
absolutely. Again, mate, it's about individuals and how motivated they are to have a cup game, and then having Super League games around that. It's a position where, as I say, like in 4 or 5 weeks' time, I'll be able to say, we've come this far as a club, or no, we're still a long way away as a club. And that's the period that we're going through now. We're in a cup final, but we've got 2 games, Super League games to play. So if we go and turn up for these next 2 and we have poor performances, and then we go into the cup on that, well, you don't have any momentum. But I'd also like to think that we're going to have strong performances going into the cup, and then after that, because worry about it when it happens. But like any big game, any Origin game, any big game, that is always determined. The players always sort of judged around what they do afterwards, and for us, it's going to be what we do after last weekend, and then leading into the cup game, but then what we do again after that with the St Helens game. But we don't want to get too far ahead. As I say, mate, we want to go back to our narrow it down. Our narrow focus is Friday, and that's what we've spoken about, internally. But as I say, as a coach, I'm looking forward to seeing where we're at as a club in 4 or 5 weeks' time.
Fighting on 2 fronts is a big ask, but Hull KR up for the challenge?
Absolutely. If we play the way that we know we can play, and we stick to being us, we've got a good 4 or 5 weeks. This is what we go away at the start of the year, trips to Tenerife, and we have a strong preseason, and we do all that for the period that we're about to go in now towards the back end of the season. So again, we'll learn a lot more about us, and I can, I'll be able to tell you, or you guys will be able to tell me more about our team in 4 or 5 weeks' time, which is what I'm after. I want to see our players dive into this period and go all out, and then, as I say, we'll reassess after the cup. But the next sort of 7-8 weeks is the exciting part. It's why we play.
Lovely stuff. Thank you, Willie. All the best
Cheers,
for
mate.
Friday. Cheers.
Thanks, mate.